My Briggs Stratton 500 Series 158cc push mower started once, died out, and then wouldn't retstart. It sounds like it wants to, almost like it isn't getting any fuel, but the gas tank is full. The only thing I have done is remove the air filter, clean away all grass, and put gumout in carb. That made no difference.
Greetings, my name is James W., and I am here to help the best I can. My goal is 100% satisfaction. Let's get started. Putting gumout or carb cleaner in these carburetors can destroy them. There are so many plastic parts and rubber parts that will be eaten up that you can do serious damage. If this is the carburetor that is mounted on the gas tank, then most likely the carb needs cleaned. And the diaphragm needs replaced. This is a part that costs $5 and needs replaced about every 2 to 3 years anyway. It gets dried out and damaged by the alcohol in the gasoline. And especially if the gas has been allowed to sit for 30 days or more. Briggs & Stratton Full-Size Image Briggs & Stratton 10L900 Series Engine Tank Mounted Pujla Prime Carb Removal Full-Size Image Briggs & Stratton Tank Mounted Pulsa Prime Carburetor Disassembly, Cleaning, Repair. Above are instructions for working on that type of carburetor. Let me know if your carb is different. Most likely you have a fuel delivery or fuel quality problem. As engines sit or get older, fuel that is left in the carburetor can turn to gum and varnish and cause this and other problems. Also, any gasoline that was left in a gas can for a period of more than 30 days must be discarded because it also has begun to turn to varnish. Today's gasolines contain MTBE and alcohol. Ethanol, they turn to junk and garbage very quickly. Alcohol absorbs water. And they call it oxygenated fuels. It is the oxygen, and the water, that breaks down the organic compounds in the fuel and turns the gas to garbage, gum and varnish. The fuels we had just a few years ago had no alcohol in it and would store for longer periods of time before going stale. Fuel stabilizers do almost nothing to prevent the fuel from going bad with the changes in today's fuels. The whole point of a fuel stabilizer is to form an oily film on the surface of stored gasoline, whether in the tank or in a gas can. The idea was to keep oxygen away from the gasoline to prevent breakdown. Since the fuel is already oxygenated, the fuel stabilizer concept is null and void. These fuels start to degrade immediately upon the addition of the ethanol. Do not buy gas from the discount stations. The discount stations get a reduced price on gas because they may be buying fuel that is nearly 30 days old already. You may be getting fuel that's nearly stale right from the pump when buying from a discount station. Purchase your fuel from the well-known stations such as Shell, BP, Sunoco, Phillips 66, etc. More than 70% of all of our repairs in our small engine repair business are due to these same issues. You most likely have dirt, gum, varnish, etc. in your carburetor plugging up the small passageways and jets in the carburetor. The carburetor will need to be cleaned and overhauled as well as the rest of the fuel system. If you plan to do the work yourself, take pictures with your digital camera or at least make a drawing of where all the linkages, gaskets, and component parts go. Correct reassembly is critical. Remove the carburetor from the engine. Remove all of the non-metallic parts since the carburetor cleaner will cause them to be disfigured, decompose, and plug the carburetor as time goes on. Clean all parts with carburetor cleaner. Blow out all the small holes in passageways with compressed air. Use a tiny stiff piece of fishing line to open all tiny passageways found in the carburetor. Wash the carburetor cleaner off of the metal parts by washing them in warm, soapy water, then rinsing with clean water. Dry all carburetor parts by blowing it off with compressed air. Make sure that all the passageways are blown dry before reassembling. You do not want water back in the carburetor. Reassemble the carburetor using a new carburetor rebuild kit including all diaphragms and gaskets and needles. Note: do not try to reassemble without using a complete carburetor kit. You will just end up having to do the job again. Find the model, type and serial or code numbers off of the engine and take them to your local dealer to get the carburetor repair kit. Always clean the fuel tank and replace the fuel line when doing this repair, or you may have to do it all over again. The inside of the fuel line disintegrates over time and these small pieces of rubber will plug up the carburetor too. Dirt and water from a dirty fuel tank will also plug up the carburetor. If this happens, you will be starting over again from the top. If you don't feel comfortable with these kinds of repairs, or if the carburetor still doesn't work correctly after your attempt, I would suggest sending it to a professional repair shop with a reputation for having friendly, knowledgeable, experienced service technicians. It would be best to take it to someone who has an ultrasonic cleaning machine. This machine uses a very mild carburetor cleaner in concert with ultrasonic vibrations to get the very small passageways clean. This method is very effective even when traditional methods fail. Here is where you can get an inexpensive ultrasonic cleaning machine: http://www.harborfreight.com/catalog search/result. Category equals in Q equals ultrasonic plus cleaner. There is a new product that you can try which is guaranteed to work or your money back, for the manufacturer. http://www.bigfuelsolutions.com/html/mib.html. It is designed to help clean the carburetor without damaging the diaphragms and rubber parts like regular carburetor cleaner. Click on this site and it will tell you all about it. http://www.bigfuelsolutions.com/html/mib.html. The mechanic in a bottle is not a conventional carburetor cleaner. It actually breaks down the varnish into its molecular components and it completely dissolves. It do not clog up the jets as conventional carburetor cleaners do. Conventional carb cleaners just loosen the varnish and the varnish particles will go into the jets and filters and clog them up, usually causing much more problems that was originally there. The conventional carb cleaners also will loosen the gunk that has formed in the gas tanks and cause all of that gunk to go through the carburetor as well. The mechanic in a bottle is a completely revolutionary product that will in many cases alleviate the need to tear the carburetor down and rebuild it. Unless there is mechanical wear and tear that would require that parts be replaced. In addition, the special formula actually is designed to soften and restore the rubber parts in the carburetor such as the needle and seats and gaskets. Mechanic in a bottle is not a cure-all, but it can help customer get going in many cases without them having to tear the carburetor apart. If the customer is not mechanically inclined, it might save them a trip to the repair shop. Yes, I was very skeptical about this product when I first was introduced to it, but the distributor demonstrated it, and we have tried it on many occasions with terrific results. Otherwise, you will have to clean and rebuild the carburetor. Please feel free to ask follow-up questions so that we can always arrive at the correct solution. We want you to be 100% satisfied. Our chat has ended, but you can still continue to ask me questions here until you are satisfied with your answer. Come back to this page to view our conversation and any other new information. What happens now? Or, you can reply to me using the box below. James W. 41140.59822079886
I actually read about that BC3 online but was skeptical that it would do what was promised. But as you recommended, I will try that first. Either way, your detailed answer is worth $17. If the product doesn't work, I will enjoy trying to DIY carb maintenance.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/YTHI.